When we talk about Gogi and you mentioned graduations and stuff, um, what defines mastery of Gogi? Is it what you're doing, how you're doing it? Is it something more spiritual? Is it something very personal, or is it something very public?
Well, a couple of things. I think the magic, if you could say it's not really magic, but the simplicity of Gogi is what makes it so universal. There was not one type of person that contributed to the tools. There was not one type of religion or organization that contributed to all the aspects of the culture. Gogi is universal. We have a calendar. We all study on a calendar, but we do things very differently. Like how the state of Oregon runs their Gogi is very different than California. And in Missouri, they run it differently there. So it's really what is possible. What is possible? And then you get a staff member and one of our Gogi students collaborating, and they create their own Gogi environment. So there's a lot of flexibility. The only thing that we want is to share these simple tools for positive decision making. And if you choose to study in a meeting format, we've got that. If you choose to study in a recovery format, we've got that. If you choose to study any one of our courses, we have those. But it's really about making these simple tools available to anybody. And people use them anyway. There's probably hundreds of thousands of people studying Gogi that I don't even know about. They're just doing their own thing. They got the book somewhere. They have a little circle group. They're doing their Gogi. I hear that all the time.
I love that. That's great. You mentioned you received over 100,000 letters from people who have participated in Gogi over the years. First, that's overwhelming to me. I can't imagine 100,000 letters from any group of people, honestly. How does the volume of truth that are shared in those letters impact you as a person? Knowing what you're doing and seeing that I'm assuming on a daily basis you're getting mail if you have that many over the years.
So we get our first letter that says, I want Gogi. I saw it on my tablet. My family saw it on YouTube. My family saw it on Facebook. I want Gogi. We send them back an assignment called the My Life Story assignment. They have to write 15 pages about their life, reflecting. That is what I've received over 100,000 of, is 100,000 My Life Stories where individuals who are incarcerated or detained have written about their life journey. And I've saved every single one of them. I have a big container and it's filled with archive boxes of the stories of my students. And I feel like in a way I'm like a Gogi mother and all of their homework is on the refrigerator. Many of them, many of them didn't have mothers that had magnets for the refrigerator. Some of them didn't have
Right.
refrigerators, but I've kept every single My Life story. So I have the story of over 100,000 prisoners as they go through the journey of understanding themselves and how can they contribute positively and how can they make the world a better place and who are they? And most of them say that that 15-page assignment, while very daunting, actually illuminated so much in their own lives.
Do you remember the first letter you got?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Will you share without any breach of
Sure,
confidentiality or
sure.
anything? What was in that first letter that motivated you to keep going to accumulate 100,000 of them?
Yeah, so the Terminal Island project was growing, but we started with 6 or 8 prisoners who became students, and then it grew to 16, then 32, then pretty soon the entire gym was filled and officers lined the walls, and there would be 100 or more prisoners slash students in the room. But prisoners get transferred. I didn't know that, especially at the feds. Prisoners gets transferred. So I'd have people transferring and they'd say, well, I can't lose my Gogi. I gotta remain connected. Well, I'm not going to have them write me letters at my house. So I got a
Right.
PO box. I got a PO box in 2006. And we still have the same PO box, by the way. And I bought the biggest one available because I knew we were going to get a lot of letters. And I would go every week and look at the box and it was empty, empty. I thought maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong, but maybe I'm wrong. Go and I remember the first time I went to the mailbox and I turned the key, opened it, and there was one lone letter in the bottom of the
Hey,
box. And it was from one of my students named Danny Allen. And Danny Allen wrote me a letter. I remember I lifted the letter and I started to cry. And I turned around and I slid down and sat down next to the P.O. box and opened the letter. And he wanted Gogi.
How did that make you feel at that moment?
Well, how it makes me feel now is beautiful. It's
Good.
beautiful.
Excellent. After reading these hundreds and thousands of letters, um, some of them have to be really heavy and heartbreaking. Others make you feel wonderful, and make you realize how fortunate some of the people that you work with have been in life, and maybe question how they ended up where they're at in your universe. How does that make you feel as a person?
Well, most of them, I wouldn't trade my horror for theirs.
No.
It reduced my perspective from I had a bad childhood and I wasn't heard or listened to. It reduced it down to nothing. The horror that a lot of people experience in their life, physical horrors, sexual horrors, drug horror, abandonment horror, the it's incredible any of us lived to 13.
Right, right.
It
True
is,
story.
it's truly amazing. Any of us live.
And
So a majority of them, I would say 90% of them are horrific
okay,
stories. And if you were to really look at that human being, it is no wonder they ended up on drugs. I think it's
right.
80% of the women in jails and prisons have been sexually molested before they were 13. Well, of course they're going to use drugs. And once you use drugs, of course you're going to sell your body or steal something. Of course. It's of course.
Right. And how do you feel about the fact that complete strangers are trusting you with with their entire lives? I mean, literally, you just mentioned being sexually assaulted or abused before the age of got tongue tied there. Before the age of 13, they'd been sexually abused, maybe physically abused as well. And the same thing, sometimes I think people don't understand that it happens to men as well as to women. It's not just a
A
woman who's
lot.
sexually assaulted,
A
right?
lot.
And realizing that these men and women are trusting you with their deepest, darkest secrets in many cases. How does it make you feel that you're
I'm
that trusted?
trustworthy. I'm trust
Right.
I'm trustworthy.
Okay.
They can trust me. They can trust me
Yeah.
because what I see in each of them is far greater than the trauma that they experience. What I see in them is a possible solution for the troubles we have in our world. What I see in them is their potential. I refuse to see anything else. So
Love that.
they can trust me.
Okay. We're kind of going to shift gears a little bit now, and we're going to talk about your new podcast briefly.
Yes, I'm so
You, I,
excited.
I am too. Believe me, I am too. So tell me about the podcast, Getting Out by Going In with Love Coach. Why now? Why this format? Why? Just why? All the whys about that new
A couple
podcast that's
things.
coming.
Maybe I feel safe now. I felt really
Okay.
safe in the prisons because the prisoners, there's a different code in a prison. You look somebody in the eye and your word is your bond and you there's a different code in prisons. And my students, the prisoners, could trust me. They knew they could trust me and I could trust them. But out here, it's a different
Not so
game.
much.
It's a
I say
different
not so
game.
much.
People
Right.
lie, they cheat, they steal, they're too busy. Oh yes, I said I would do that. I can't. There's people are not people of their word. At least that's what I'm experiencing. Why now? Because enough of my students have gotten out that I've got a good group of warriors.
Yeah. Um, let's see. What is the experience of speaking the words from the letters out loud and sharing those with other individuals?
Yeah, well, part of the podcast is going to be reading the letters from students. I get a lot of letters, Dear Coach Taylor. Some of them say, Dear Gogi, I want to do the free courses, but some are, Dear Coach Taylor, let me share the story of how Gogi's changed my life. those are the letters that I'll be reading on the podcast and commenting on how I responded to this individual or how I would want to respond. Because if we can share this podcast, maybe a mother will understand her son a little better, or a father will understand his daughter a little better. If you have a loved one who's incarcerated or has an addiction, maybe just reading these letters of these amazing human beings who have caused so much harm, but who have had harm caused to them, if they are putting the pieces together, I believe that their words can help us put the pieces together in our own life. I think we have a lot to learn from the journey of getting out of prison by going in.
That that I think you're dead on with that, actually, thinking about reflecting on my own experiences in life. You're right. I think that's true, and I think we overlook that. The sign off with love, coach. You send all this love out into the world. What impact do you think that has when somebody sees, like I have a proof copy of a book um, from you from
Yeah.
long ago. This book there's stuff in here I'll show you. I have stuff underlined in it and things. It's like I've actually read the books and stuff. When you sign off with love, coach, that sends all of this out into the world to people who may never have experienced that kind of love and respect. How does that make you feel when you reflect on it, that you're putting all of you out into the world with all of us?
I I really think that it was more selfish than that. I never felt loved. I never felt I don't know. I never felt loved. So by giving it away, I'm getting it. The love that I give to all my students or anybody is really it comes back to me. I feel so loved. Why? Because everything I give is with love. Coach, with love. Give it away, give it away, give it away, give it away. Feel it, feel it, feel it. I just experienced that the more I'm able to gift the feeling seen and heard to other people, the more I feel seen and heard, the more love I feel.
Reflecting on the podcast again, it's brand new, just getting up and going. Who do you most have hope will be listening to it?
My students, of course, you know that there's tablets in a lot of prisons now, not all of them, but on the tablets. And we have partnered with an organization called edovo, and they put materials on tablets in more than 400 prisons and jails. So the motivation of the podcast is I can reach these students without having to drive drive for hundreds of miles and stay in little tiny towns with terrible hotels and no restaurants. And I got to tell you, I it's been a journey. It's been pretty
Wow.
horrific. But if I can reach
Yeah.
them by on their tablets, then I'll be more than happy to share everything that I've
Right.
experienced in 25 years.
Okay. Do you consider your podcast a message to the world or to your former students? And I shouldn't call them former students because Gogi is a lifelong commitment. It's like to your students. Is this for them? Is it for everybody to be introduced to Gogi and hopefully get it into additional prisons to help even more individuals?
JT, I'm not sure how ready people are to be still and actually listen. Our world is very divisive. It's very consumer oriented. It's vindictive and mean in many cases. There is an undercurrent of a need for gentleness. So I am certain that if somebody needs something gentle and kind, they will stumble upon the podcast. And I just hope, beyond all hope, that it touches their heart in a way that mine was touched. I hope that everybody can feel the level of freedom that I am now feeling, or that my students, the prisoners, feel. I wish that for the world, but to even have the possibility of that, you have to be still enough. You have to learn belly breathing and boss on my brain and 5-second light switch. You have to be able to shift your perception, positive thoughts, positive words, positive actions. You have to be able to move beyond the past, let go, forgive, claim responsibility, and you have to be able to create something different. Reality check, ultimate freedom, and what if. So if somebody is so desperate like I was, they might find this podcast interesting, but most people are too busy and they rather watch some drama, they rather watch some reality show than really sit with themselves long enough and have a good cry and say, life must be more than all the anger and hatred. Life must be more than me being miserable. Life must be more than scrolling. There must be something more. I hope that those individuals tune in and listen, and I hope they're inspired. And if they're not, I hope they don't badmouth it and turn somebody else away. Because our intention, the prisoners and me, our intention is good and it's clear and it's right and it's inclusive and it's for everybody and it's every human being can get out of prison by going in for the answers. And that's our message.
Okay. And I just want to, I guess, a point of clarification. Um, Getting out by going in. A lot of people see that and they think, oh, you have to go to prison to get out of your head. And that's not really true. What you're talking about, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you're getting out and getting out of you by going into you. It really, yogi, yes, it is prison based. And that's where it started and the concept came from with you. But it's really about getting into you to get out of you so that you can have this feeling of belonging, of being heard, being seen, being understood. Is that correct?
100%. I've never been in
All right.
prison. I've never been a
Right.
prisoner, but I was a
Okay.
huge prisoner.
Of
So,
yourself.
yes, yes.
Yes.
Of my
Right.
own life experience, of my own abandonment issues, of my own parental issues, my sibling issues, my financial issues, the husband leaving me issue, being a single mom issue, la. All these things built up a wall around me that caused chronic underlying depression and then just major depression. And it wasn't until I went into a prison and began the journey inside that I even realized that those walls were created by me. They were they were my walls. I created them and I could dismantle them. It took a while, but I could dismantle them, which I did. All of us are in a prison of one form or another. We just need to decide if we want out.
And people call you Coach Taylor. Um, what does that mean to you to be called coach by all these men and women that you've helped over the years?
It makes me cry.
It should. It's amazing to me. Um, did you choose to start calling yourself Coach Taylor, or did your students just start calling you that?
Well, let's go back to Terminal Island, sitting in those small circles.
Okay.
These circles kept getting bigger and
Yeah.
bigger and bigger. And the student said, well, what should we call you? Are you a teacher? No. Are you a preacher? No. Are you a counselor? No. Well, what are you? Well, we couldn't use our first names. I said, well, I am just a volunteer who thinks that you guys can do better than you're doing. Then one guy said, well, kind of like a coach. And I said, call me
Yeah.
Coach Taylor.
Great. When you reflect on where you were as a person when Gogi began and where you're at now, what has changed the most and what has not changed at all?
Wow. What has changed the most? Well, if I could go back to that woman, I would just hold her and tell her how wonderful she was. I would give her a hug and say, you're heard and you're seen. And what's changed the most is I feel heard and I feel seen. What's changed the least is my insatiable appetite to provide a route to freedom for anyone, anyone can feel levels of freedom and creativity that they never knew was possible. And so I have an insatiable appetite, much like the very first, wow, you're telling me I could be boss of my brain. I got to share that. So,
Yeah.
so I have an insatiable appetite for sharing simple tools to help anybody create their own freedom.
Okay. Excellent. Um, Talking about you again, um, and I know I always get kind of uncomfortable when I have to talk about me. It's like, am I going to sound this way or that way? Or are people going to change their perception of me? What is one thing you wish people understand about the real Coach Taylor that they don't get?
Life is not easy, but suffering is a choice. My life is not easy, but whether I choose to suffer is my choice. And I do not choose to suffer. I will not suffer. My life is not easy. The choices I've made has resulted in a lot of isolation, a lot of not relating to my own peers, isolation from family. The road I have chosen is one that I wouldn't want for others. Um, so it may look fun. It's not without its minute by minute challenges, and it's a lonely road.
All right. And what keeps you inspired when that road gets lonely, as you just mentioned? What keeps you inspired when it gets to feeling lonely there, when it feels heavy, or when it seems like it's moving too slow? What keeps you going? What gives you that bump to get out of bed in the morning?
Okay, I have a perfect story. I just finished an interview before we got on with
uh,
one of my students. He sent me an email and he said, I just want to thank you. I was released May 9th, 2024, and I am almost out of here. I want to thank you because you were instrumental in my freedom. And so I said, let's get on a Zoom call and let's film it. I had
yeah.
bet him he was 19 years to life, and he was 7 years in, and he was at Pleasant Valley State Prison. And I said to him, I bet you $100 you're out within 5 years. And he looked at me and said, what? How? I'm 19 to life. I said, I bet you $100 you're out within 5 years. So he called to lay claim on that bet. He wasn't out in 5 years. He was out in seven, but he was out. And
He was home.
he was home, but he said that my challenge to him, my believing in him was the only reason he began to change his life around. So it's stories like that that just keep my gas tank filled, keeps my engine
Yeah.
going, and it keeps the things that I choose not to suffer from, keeps them at bay. You hear a story like that, and of course you're going to get up to have another day of being of service.
If somebody reading your story on the website, for example, feels lost, broken, unsure that life is worth living anymore for them, what is something you would say directly to them if they were sitting there in your space with you? What is
I,
that
w-
one thing you want
I,
them to
I
know?
would say within the next 10 minutes, let's find one thing positive you can do for someone else. Because the only reason we feel that we aren't worth things or life isn't worth living is if we are concerned about ourselves. If we immediately focused on, can I pick up that piece of trash? Can I do something? The second we get other focused, most of the momentum starts to fuel itself. It's a matter of building in the habit of other focused, not to deny ourselves our own things that we need. Certainly, I'm the first to get a cup of coffee for me. I make sure that I'm okay before I start giving to others. But even if I don't want to give to others, I focus on giving to others. And the second I get my mindset on who can I help? How can I help? Who can I help? How can I help? Then that moment of desperation is lessened. It doesn't have the power over you that it did.
Love that. Love that. I'm going to kind of backtrack here. Um, Claiming responsibility, you said, is of paramount importance to being successful with Gogi in general. I'm guessing is where we were headed with that. Um, why is that such a vital part of it about claiming responsibility?
Well, there's a difference between claiming responsibility and the GOGI Life Tool claim responsibility. Claiming responsibility is most often associated with the past. Yeah, I broke into the liquor store. I stole the stuff. I claim responsibility for that. And that is shoved down the throat of people, even children. Like, you got to claim responsibility for this. Okay, I claim responsibility. As a GOGI Life Tool is different. It's claim responsibility for who I am today. How I act and react today is what I'm using the tool claim responsibility for. So my actions and my reactions today are mine. So I'm no longer tethered to the past. I'm no longer tethered to an addiction. I'm no longer tethered to abandonment or depression or gangs or anything. My actions and my reactions are mine today. I claim responsibility for my actions and reactions. That puts me in control of everything that I am thinking and saying today. So irrespective of what went on yesterday or 2 minutes ago, I can claim responsibility for this moment forward. And that's the beauty of this tool.
All right. So we're getting here towards the end of our time together today. Anyway, I hope there are many more of these conversations actually after today. They've got my mind going 100 different directions actually. Of other things that I can write about. Um, any final words from you for anybody who's reading this on your website when it goes on there?
People are in prison and they don't even know it. Freedom is available for everyone. Anybody who's stuck in any mindset, thought, relationship, there is freedom to be found there. And the GOGI Life Tools are simple ways to start making that happen.
Perfect way to wrap this up. I love that. First, I want to thank you for participating in this today. I'm looking forward to getting this written for you. Um, yeah, I've learned a lot. It's been great finally meeting you.
I
It's
know.
like, yay.
I'm so grateful.
G-O-G, G-O-G, go, go, this I got the tools to live by. G-O-G, G-O-G, go, talking this I got the tools to live by.
All the GOGI Life Tool books are available on Amazon.
This I got the tools to live by. G-O-G, G-O-G, go, this I got the